has been trying for several years to get Stockton Rush, the CEO, to halt his program. And for two reasons. One is carbon fiber is not an acceptable material. The other is that this is the only submersible in the world that's doing commercial work that was unclassed. That is to say, it's not certified by an independent agency. And those two things together go hand in hand. The reason it wasn't classed or certified is because no class society, no certifying agency is going to sign off on carbon fiber as a building product for a submersible.
You know, with all of this information slowly coming out, OceanGate has to be done for, right? Like, there's no way they can recover from this, in my opinion. And I'm genuinely curious to hear your opinion as well. Do you think that OceanGate can make a comeback from this? I mean, after what happened, I think everyone at that company might as well pack it up and pursue other options. Get into a different field. Something. And it's not just because the sub imploded, although that's the biggest factor here. It's also all of this information that's going to be trickling out for days and weeks and months to come. Years from now, they will still be talking about this story. I don't know if lawsuits are going to start springing up. I know that OceanGate went out of its way to try to protect themselves from that. But I have to believe that more is going to come of this. And as far as the company OceanGate goes, who in their right mind would get back on one of those subs? But then again, they didn't have any trouble finding people to go on them in the first place. So I imagine there are people out there who are rich enough and stupid enough to think that there would be a different outcome if they went down to the Titanic. Because one thing I've learned is that when you got a lot of money, it seems as if some of these people start feeling invincible. But, you know, like I said, for years to come, they're still going to be talking about this story because there's so much information to go through. And I'm trying to get to everything, but ladies and gentlemen, it is overwhelming. And that's one of the reasons why I say there can be no comeback for OceanGate. Even if people forgave the implosion, people aren't going to forgive all of these warnings that had been out there. Warning after warning after warning. And they just went full steam ahead. They went full steam ahead, ignoring everything. And you know, in my last video, we read over some leaked text messages. And the dude Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, he was trying to convince all type of people to hop aboard his sub, telling them that it was so safe, it's just as safe as crossing the street. I never imploded while walking across the street. I hope that never happens to me, but yeah, I think we know now that this sub was not safe, let alone as safe as walking across the street. But, you know, he was trying to convince people to hop aboard because he believed in his creation and probably needed money to fund the whole operation. Well, in my last video, we went over some text messages. In this video, I have some emails that I would like to go through because, I mean, like I keep saying, I keep reiterating myself, but it's just warning after warning after warning. And looking at Stockton Rush's replies, it's kind of interesting because the dude didn't give a damn about what anyone had to say. He was going to go down there and he was going to take people with him regardless. Let's go ahead and dive in, though. Hit that thumbs up button while we do so. It goes a long way into helping this channel, and we're trying to get to 100K. An adventurer who used to consult with OceanGate left the firm because he thought its founder was over-promising and rushing things. Rob McCollum told Bloomberg in 2017 that he was worried OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush was rushing things. McCollum, who is an explorer, said that he thought nothing should be left up to chance when exploring the ocean. McCollum said that he did not think that the Titanic tourist sub was safe for use. A marine adventurer who used to consult for OceanGate, the maker of the Titan tourist sub that went missing on Sunday, left the company partly over his worries that its CEO was over-promising and rushing things. Rob McCollum, the founder of the expedition service provider EYOS Expeditions, consulted for OceanGate when the company had just started in 2009 per a 2017 feature on Rush and OceanGate. I know Stockton well and think the world needs more Stocktons prepared to take a chance, McCollum said. But he is a full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes kind of guy. And in the submersible industry, extreme depth is all about precision and control. Nothing can be left to chance. McCollum told Insider that he still stands by his assessment of Rush and OceanGate, adding that Rush's working style and equipment could have caused the sub to go missing. McCollum, who says he is familiar with the equipment used in the Titan sub, also said that he did not think that the sub was safe for use. McCollum ended up going to the Titanic wreck back in August of 2019. McCollum's crew used the DSSV limiting factor, a two-person sub made by Triton Subs. I would never dive in a unclassed, uncertified sub, McCollum said. In messages that have now leaked, Rob McCollum told OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush that he was potentially putting his clients at risk and urged him to stop using the sub until it had been certified by an independent agency. Mr. Rush responded that he was tired of industry players who try to use a safety argument to stop innovation. The tense exchange ended after OceanGate's lawyers threatened legal action, Mr. McCollum said. I think you are potentially placing yourself and your clients in a dangerous dynamic, McCollum wrote to the OceanGate boss in March 2018. In your race to the Titanic, you are mirroring that famous cat's cry, she is unsinkable. In the messages, Mr. Rush, who was among 5 passengers who died when the Titan experienced what officials believe was a catastrophic implosion on Sunday, expresses frustration with the criticism of Titan's safety measures. We have heard the baseless cries of, "You are going to kill someone," way too often, he wrote. I take this as a personal, serious insult. Mr. McCollum said that he repeatedly urged the company to seek certification for the Titan. Before using it for commercial tours, the vessel was never certified or classed. Until a sub is classed, tested, and proven, it should not be used for commercial deep dive operations, he wrote in one email. I implore you to take every care in your testing and sea trials and to be very, very conservative, he added. As much as I appreciate entrepreneurship and innovation, you are potentially putting an entire industry at risk. In his response a few days later, Mr. Rush defended his business and his credentials. He said that OceanGate's engineering-focused, innovative approach flies in the face of the submersible orthodoxy, but that is the nature of innovation. Throughout the exchange, Mr. Rush defended his qualifications and questioned the existing framework around deep-sea expeditions. He said that industry players were trying to stop new entrants from entering their small existing market. I am well qualified to understand the risks and issues associated with subsea exploration in a new vehicle, he wrote. Mr. McCullum then responded in stark terms, writing, It will be sea trials that determine whether the vehicle can handle what you intend to do with it. So again, take care and keep safe. There is a lot more riding on this than Titan and the Titanic, he said. Mr. Rush founded OceanGate in 2009, and the company offered customers a chance to experience deep sea travel, including to the wreck of the Titanic on board Titan, for a price of $250,000. I want to read you all some excerpts from the email, some of which we've gone over, some of which is new. You are wanting to use a prototype, unclassed technology in a very hostile place. As much as I appreciate entrepreneurship and innovation, you're potentially putting an entire industry at risk. Stockton Rush replies, I know that our engineering-focused innovative approach, as opposed to an existing standards compliance-focused design process, flies in the face of the submersible orthodoxy. But that is the nature of innovation. I have grown tired of industry players who try to use a safety argument to stop innovation and new entrants from entering their small existing market. Since Guillermo and I started OceanGate, we have heard the baseless cries of you are going to kill someone way too often. I take this as a serious personal insult. Mr. McCullum replies, I think you are potentially placing yourself and your clients in a dangerous dynamic. Ironically, in your race to the Titanic, you are mirroring the famous cat's cry, she is unsinkable. Having dived the Titanic and having stood in a coroner's court as a technical expert, it would be remiss of me not to bring this to your attention. Experts have questioned the safety of Titan and how private sector deep sea expeditions are regulated. Concerns have been and were raised over the Titan's experimental design and the carbon fiber material used to build it. Mr. McCullum was among more than 36 industry leaders and experts who signed a 2018 letter to Mr. Rush that warned OceanGate's approach could lead to catastrophic problems. Just to keep it real with you all, the more and more I learn about this Stockton Rush dude, the more I hear about him, the more and more I dislike him. But there's a small part of me that is starting to appreciate him as well in a weird way. I'm disliking the guy because, of course, he was ignoring all of these warnings. He was ignoring the rules, and he put these people in a position that no one else should have been put in besides himself, maybe. But at the same time, I really respect someone who's willing to go against the rules. I respect someone that's willing to do the undone, to do the unthinkable. Someone that's brave enough to do things that others aren't. I'm not brave enough to dive down to the Titanic. Even if you could confirm for 100% fact I would be okay. Probably wouldn't go down there. So I respect Stockton Rush for being so determined and believing in himself and believing in his dream. Now, if Stockton Rush had went out in his own blaze of glory and something went wrong with the sub and he was testing it himself, that would be a totally different story. Once again, like I've said before, most of my problem lies in the fact that he knew what he was doing was against protocols, and he was still trying to get other people on board. So yeah, I respect that he was out here doing what he was going to do. No one was going to tell him differently. And I respect that type of mentality, but at the same time, that hard-headedness, it can get in the way. And like Mr. McCullum said, he's the expert. You know, it's cool to be the full steam ahead type of guy in certain situations, but when you're dealing with the pressures of the ocean, that's a totally different story. You know, when you're dealing with consequences that are so severe, it's a totally different story. And you are in an environment that is unforgiving. There is no room for mistake. You don't get to learn from your mistakes at the bottom of the ocean. If you have a mistake, you're turned into tomato paste, for lack of a better way to describe it. So, Stockton Rush, if he had put this mentality and this drive into something else that was not 3,800 meters below the ocean surface, then I think he would have been a really successful guy. And that's not to say that he wasn't somewhat successful with OceanGate, but we see how that ended. One other thing that I've noticed from this little email exchange was that he felt like the industry was trying to keep him out. And I understand how that could feel when you're coming into a small, tight-knit community and the submersible community, the amount of businesses that offer commercial trips down in the ocean, the amount of people that got subs that are exploring. It's a real small, tight-knit community. And I think to him, it felt like people were trying to keep him out. I think to him that he was trying to come up with these new creations, these new innovations, a new way to do things, and everyone was just telling him, no, 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 no. And instead of seeing the warning signs, he viewed it as people were jealous in a way, or people were gatekeeping. People were trying to keep him out of the community. People were trying to stop him. And in many ways, when you're dealing with such a small, tight-knit community of companies that offer, certain things, in many ways, yeah, maybe that could be the case in some scenarios, because if you're the only business that offers tourist trips to the Titanic, and then another business comes about that wants to take people to the Titanic, that's your direct competition. So in many ways, I think Stockton Rush just knew and felt like he was the direct competition to everyone else in the industry. Therefore, he felt like a lot of the warnings and stuff was really just a way to stop him from being successful. When in reality, I think that there may have been some of that involved, but at the end of the day, we see that the warnings were real. They were legitimate. And, building that sub with the carbon fiber, and we know the window wasn't certified to go as deep as it went. In fact, the one window on the sub was certified for 1,300 meters, and he repeatedly took it down to 3,800 meters. There, he did so many things that he shouldn't have done, But at the end of the day, we could keep talking about the warnings that he got. And over the coming days and weeks and months, like I said, there's going to be so much information pouring out about this company, and the amount of info that I'm already sitting on, it's going to take me days to go over. I'm pumping out videos every couple of hours, and there's so many more updates and information that I got to get to. So let me go ahead and get to that. You let me know your thoughts down below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I will talk to you all soon in the next video.